Because ultimately, what is the expectation of society from all of us? That we will deliver clean, reliable, fraud-free, dependable financial statements on which the whole world can depend. Now, if we are able to deliver it through this transparent process, then we would have done a fantastic service to society.
Digital in finance is now moving beyond an academic discussion. Finance leadership is waking up to the new exponential possibilities of digital, and use cases are evolving every second day. The stimulus is often coming from the front end of the business, where digitization is the completely transforming the way we work, live, and relax. And the way millennials in the workforce, they are increased attention to make finance processes simple, friendly, and agile. Digital finance is the need of this very hour. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have with us very special guest today, Mr. Shailesh Haribhakti, sir. He's a career chartered and cost accountant and certified international auditor, finance planner, and fraud examiner. He has been conferred with the Global Competent Board Designation by the Competent Boards Incorporation. His career spans over 4 decades. He currently chairman of Shailesh Haribhakti and Associates Chartered Accountants. He is the non-executive chairman of L&T Finance Holding Limited, L&T Mutual Fund Trustee Limited, Future Lifestyle Fashion Limited, NSDL E-Governance Infrastructure Limited, Blue Star Limited, Planet People and Profit Consulting Private Limited, Bluevine Technologies Private Limited, and IBS Fintech India Private Limited. He is a vice chairman of GOvEVA Consulting Private Limited. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, his profile has so many things, so many glories, which I won't be able to explain in next few minutes. But I'm pretty sure during this conversation, we are going to learn a lot from him. So first of all, sir, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and actually agreeing to share thoughts with us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure, Harsh, to join you. And I must say that as a young, enthusiastic, and committed person, you impressed me with your basic thought process on finance. So I'm really happy to be on on this conversation to make sure that your listeners get a even more deeper perspective on decentralized finance and all the rest of the technologies that are inundating the financial world. So go right ahead. I'm delighted to answer your questions.
Indeed, sir, it's a pleasure too. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is blockchain and the future of accountancy. Digital technologies has long influenced accounting, but most digital technologies have involved replacing analog tool with a similar digital counterparts. However, a blockchain, relatively new technology, is poised to change how accounting is done on a more fundamental level. So my very first request to you is to please explain our viewers more about the detail on the potential of blockchain and its implementation for auditors.
Well, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India itself announced, as soon as the new team of President and Vice President took charge, Mr. Mitra, our incoming president, has announced that ICAI is working on a thought paper which will bring blockchain into accounting. So that is the first official recognition of something that I have been talking about and holding very dear to me in the field of accounting. In 5 years' time, I can now confidently predict that all accounting will be blockchained. Now, what is the meaning of blockchaining accounting? So in any transaction, there are two parties, right? There are counterparties. The transaction which is reflected in a particular way in one counterparty is reflected exactly as a mirror image in the other counterparty's books. Now, if you have a blockchain which is making all the transactions immutable, then you're doing two or three things. You are putting an onus on the people who are actually recording the transaction to make sure that it is accurate, the metadata of that transaction is accurate. Because if the metadata is not accurate, then the computer system which picks up the transaction will not be able to read it correctly and will not be able to record it correctly. So all the principles of accounting will remain the same, but every transaction will have to have a metadata which will drive the machine to decide which account to debit and which account to credit. And that is the fundamental building block of the blockchain. Then what happens is once you have recorded the transaction, you can't change it.
Yes.
Because that in an open ledger system, which is the blockchain system, becomes visible to all who have got the permission to look at that transaction. So let's say the transaction is between you and me, and you want to give me a consulting fee. Let us say that is the transaction. Then in my books, it will be reflected as an income. And in your books, it will be reflected as a tax deductible expenditure, right?
Yes.
Now, both our books are mirror images. They have to be mirror images of each other. Now, if everybody, including the income tax department, the government of India, whoever has got permission to access this, because ultimately your tax return is filed based on accounting that you are doing. And if that is visible through a tax information network, then ultimately we can aspire to a system where our taxes need not be filed. They will be determined by the system. And we will get a notice. I will get a notice. Let's say that's the only transaction in the whole world that I do in that particular year. Then on that income, consulting income, I will be sent a notice that you need to pay over and above the tax deducted at source and the advance tax you have paid. You have to pay 10,000 rupees as tax. Then I will simply pay it. And that transaction also will be recorded in the blockchain. So the entire series of transactions between us will become visible through the open ledger, through the blockchain system, to everybody who is concerned and has an interest in that. You, of course, have an interest because you need to claim it as a tax deductible expense. I have an interest, but so also does the tax department, and so also does, let us say, the regulator, say ICAI, which wants to make sure that I've got the consulting fee for the right kind of service that I'm entitled to render to, or I'm licensed to render to, right? So what blockchain will do is it will make transactions very transparent, fully auditable by a robotic process automation kind of audit, and will serve the interests of all the economic interests who are involved in a particular set of transactions. Now you replicate it across the whole financial system. See how much of the wasted effort will be saved. A lot of things will become automatically accurate, automatically transparent, and therefore much more reliable. And the output of the financial system will be far more dependable. So that's the future that awaits us.
Indeed, sir. Actually, I think you have very beautifully covered this whole thing. And I'm sure the people, those who are watching this, and I'm very much confident that they must have understood and they must have got the basic understanding of how it all works. And sir, my next question to you is, although there is a plenty to be said about how the blockchain works, accountants should understand the basic role of blockchain. But sir, I want you to share your thoughts on how the profession or how the professionals can lead the blockchain.
Very, very good question, Harsh, because we need to first start becoming educated about blockchain. And that's the first task for all of us as accountants. I did it the hard way. I spent 500 hours during COVID studying technology. One of the technologies I took upon myself to study was blockchain. The other was RPA, or digital auditing. And I discovered that these two will become so fundamental to our practice and to everything that we are doing all our lives, that I decided to not only evangelize it, because this will make the auditing profession stand out. Because ultimately, what is the expectation of society from all of us? That we will deliver clean, reliable, fraud-free, dependable financial statements on which the whole world can depend. Now, if we are able to deliver it through this transparent process, then we would have done a fantastic service to society. And that is how all of us in the accounting profession, whoever is listening to this, must hold it in our minds. And so it becomes very important. Auditing can no longer be done post facto, after every quarter is over or after every year is over. It's too late. You need to make sure that the audit happens as soon as a second eye and a third eye needs to look at things in order to make it absolutely dependable. Right? I call it the 3 eyes principle. I don't sign any document until I'm assured that 3 eyes have seen it and have confirmed that the contents are accurate. So this is what will be enabled automatically through the robotic process automation. And therefore, the dependability of the output will rise and the dependability on the profession will improve. So people can trust accounting statements.
Indeed, sir. Actually, and sir, my next question to you is, actually, we all are seeing this. Technology is moving our world at hyper speed, and most businesses are scrambling to keep pace, from how they engage with customers to how they plan, respond, and position for the future. Everyday leaders, whether digital natives or business veterans, wake up to a new landscape and to a new decision for which there are no precedents. So my question to you is, how do you see the finance in this digital world?
So let me give you again an example, okay? That's the best way to illustrate what is happening to the world of finance. What is money? Fundamental question. Money is the bridge between today and your expectation that tomorrow will be better than today. It is because you want to go from today, whatever that today may be, to a better tomorrow, that somebody will make money available to you to make that journey. That is the original principle which gave rise to the whole concept of money. Otherwise, before that, everything was barter. My need and your need, if they matched, if you had the supply and I had the demand, then it was met through barter. But what money does is it creates the bridge to traverse the uncertainty between a known today and an unknown tomorrow, right? Now, who was the first person who took a big risk? It was Isabella, Queen Isabella, who financed the journey of Christopher Columbus to actually go on a journey which nobody knew where he was going to reach. And she just took the call that it is worthwhile to finance that journey into the unknown. And we know that the United States of America was discovered through this voyage undertaken. And then, of course, the history of money moved into joint stock companies and the trust creation and the derivatives and all the rest that we are familiar with, right? So that's the history of money. why money came into existence. Now, if that is what is supposed to be the bridge, then why should there be between you and me anybody else who comes in the middle and tries to create the transaction between us? If I could know you fully and you could know me fully, then we can trust each other, right? So if we have systems and processes which can create that mutual trust, then you don't need the intermediation of various institutions and bodies and people and this and that to make the transaction between us. Now look at it in terms of a deposit in a bank. Today, what do we do? If I have a surplus income or surplus wealth, I will take that wealth and deposit it into a bank. The bank will pay me X percentage interest. But the bank turns around and charges to you as its customer X plus 6%, right? Because 6% it's its net interest margin. Now, suppose there was enough trust between you and me. Then why would we not do the transaction at some lower cost to you and some incremental benefit to me? That is where the world of finance is today moving. That if there is intermediation, the service should be clean, clear, demonstrable, known, priced, and paid for. If not, the intermediation should go away. That is what is now being called decentralized finance. Right? Now, and that is what has given rise to DAOs. This is something that most people have never heard of before. What is a DAO? A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO. This has become the big new thing that is changing the world of finance. And what do these DAOs do? They do exactly what it says. They are digital, they are autonomous, and they are organizations which at extremely low cost of intermediation facilitate and enhance the speed, volume, and quality of transactions using what are called smart contracts. Smart contracts is another term that all of us as accountants and finance people will have to start getting familiar with. What is a smart contract? A smart contract is a contract essentially which is digitally executed between two counterparties in a template which is commonly understood and is enforceable because it is a smart contract. So you don't then need a court of law to come in and judge whether it is the correct arrangement between you and the counterparty, because the smart contract, all the data, which enables. So what does the judge do? The judge asks both counsels to come and present data. And based on that, the judge takes a judgment call, correct? Now, if all of that is available digitally at the time that the transaction takes place, then you don't need anybody else judging. It's your smart contract which actually delivers the transfer of value between you and me. Ultimately, all of us are doing transactions with each other, right? Which is what we want to record, which is what makes money go round, right? And so that's the new world of finance that is emerging. It consists of decentralized finance, DAOs, smart contracts, and instantaneous, zero latency completion of contracts.
Indeed, sir. I think actually you have explained all the terms very clearly. And by taking the example, I'm sure the people, those who are watching this session, they must have got a very good idea of all these terms if they are very much not familiar with these topics all. And sir, my next question to you is actually, it is common belief that as an account expert, you are likely relied upon your skills. Sir, in your opinion, what are the critical skills are required to excel for account professionals in this fast-paced changing world?
So the first skill that you must have is to be humble. First attitude you should have. Just because you have passed a certain exam doesn't mean anything. It just means that you are familiar with the syllabus that has been set for that exam. Right? That's the best you can get from an exam in passing it. Nothing more than that. But now the world changes every minute. It changes every day. And things start getting adapted at a pace which is so fast that if you're not keeping up, you become obsolete. And therefore, the first thing that you should have is humility. Second thing you should have is an attitude to keep learning. At my age, I get up every day in the morning and at least 2 hours, I try and absorb new knowledge. Anything new that has happened in the world, I want to have access to it. So I read a digitally created news feed every morning, which is called Future Loop. Your readers should all subscribe to it. It is an amazing compilation of all the new discoveries that were made, that were discovered and chosen by an artificially intelligent news processor. And it is presented every day. That world, as you wake up, all of these new things have happened. So take a look at it. Okay? Then there is another news feed that I read, which talks about what changes are being made in human health, how the world of medicine is changing, how the physical world is changing. What do we need to do to live a healthier, happier life? So that's the second newsletter that I read. And so on, there is a whole lot of digital feeds based on your own interest that you can start your day with. Then during the day, it is important to continue to apply and study and share and not think that whatever knowledge I have got, I must keep to myself. Share it. The more you share it, the more your knowledge becomes confident knowledge. So I would say these three things are critical. First, be humble. 2, be a learning person. 3, share it.
Indeed, sir. These are the things I think we all need to actually learn this. And I must say, sir, there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session. And sir, actually the global pandemic and other recent experiences have inspired us to ask what else? What are the mindset and skill set that need to develop? What is the advice will be from your side to the students, those who are still in their colleges? What kind of skills they must learn in their college days in order to make themselves more compatible with this industry demand and in order to make themselves more compatible with this fast-paced changing world of innovation?
Very good question, Harsh, because this is so critical. How many books do you read every month will make you the person that you are? How do you choose what you read? How many webinars? How many TEDx talks? How many distilled pieces of knowledge and information you absorb is what is going to make you the skilled, relevant person in today's changing world. Because as I said, everything is changing so fast that if you don't keep pace with it, how would I be able to go into a board meeting and make any new contribution if I have knowledge which I had acquired when I was doing my CA some 50 years ago, whatever it was, 45 years ago maybe? It has become completely irrelevant, right? So therefore, you have to keep yourself up to date every day. That is the new skill set that people have to develop. You need to be ready to apply the skills to whatever challenge emerges in front of you. That is the new responsibility of every young person.
Exactly. these are the very valuable piece of advice from your side, sir. And I must say thank you so much for joining and giving your important time. It was a kind of a healthy conversation with you on the topic. And again, thank you so much, sir. It's a kind of a pleasure for me to have you on my show.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.